Okay, because how much wealth you attain, where you're at with your wealth status right now, really goes into how well you've negotiated over a lifetime. And if you've been a bad negotiator, you're probably a little bit upset about where you are. You feel like you could have been in a better position. But if you are great at negotiating, you're probably right where you want to be, or you surpass your own goals. So it goes into where you know you're at when it comes to negotiations.
Look, everyone won't be wealthy, but everyone can be basically wealthy.
And in the studio right now, we have Uncle Joe. He stops by each and every Milk Wednesdays. And what do you got this week?
Well, first of all, good morning to y'all as well.
Good morning, my
Look,
brother.
sometimes I just look forward to the intro.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to show up in the studio just for the intro to love. I appreciate it. Y'all made my day better.
All right.
Everybody can feel better around me because I'm going to feel better around them.
Yes,
Good.
likewise.
It's contagious.
Yes.
Yeah. Got to get the energy up in the room, and I appreciate y'all for elevating my energy, and I'm going to try to do the same for you and the listeners today.
All right.
And we're going to start off doing that by this Wealthy Wednesday, talking about negotiations, okay, and the art of negotiating. It's important because, as we heard on right before the last break, we hear this in the news headline about Lamar Jackson and his contract negotiations, a lot of opinions about how he's going about getting a deal or not getting a deal, or dealing with the Ravens franchise. And then we saw how other teams have signed their quarterbacks who have succeeded or had more success recently, and how that affects his negotiations. It's important to really understand not the situation, but how negotiations and wealth are tied together. Okay, because how much wealth you attain, where you're at with your wealth status right now, really goes into how well you've negotiated over a lifetime. And if you've been a bad negotiator, you're probably a little bit upset about where you are. You feel like you could have been in a better position. But if you are great at negotiating, you're probably right where you want to be, or you surpass your own goals. So it goes into where you know you're at when it comes to negotiations. And look, before we get into our personal negotiations and where we are and how we feel about it, I do want you to be aware of this. There are some other negotiations taking place right now that will affect all of us.
Okay.
We talk about football and sports, but there's some things outside of sports that actually will a bit more meaningful, I would say, when it comes to our daily lives.
Of course.
Number one, the Teamsters. Okay, the Teamsters, that's the union that represents the drivers, the workers at UPS. They're prepared to strike if an agreement isn't reached by July 31st. So if an agreement is not met by July 31st, we will have some slowdowns with our packages. And the other deliverers have already said, including FedEx, the time period is past where they could pick up that work. So that means a slowdown happens no matter what. They can't deviate. Okay, we're going to send this through Amazon. We're going to send this through USPS. We're going to send this through, all the other companies, FedEx. No, if an agreement's not made and a strike happens, just be prepared that your packages may arrive a little bit slower than usual.
As if they weren't slow enough.
Oh, my goodness. And not just that, in the entertainment world, okay, we also have another group that could strike very soon. I'm talking about by May 1st, if an agreement isn't made. The Writers Guild of America is going to strike. Yeah, all your favorite shows, all these series, all the content, it has writers that write that great content for us.
Yes, indeed.
And they are on the verge of going strike. They did so for 100 days between 2007 and 2008. And we really saw, when it came to the content that was produced, that that was a struggle.
Yeah, I was living out there in LA at that time.
Yeah. Even down to like the Tonight shows and all. I mean, so much. People don't understand how much, even reality TV, how much is written. So right now they're going through negotiations to try to get themselves not only more money, but they're including in their negotiations, by the way, AI. Okay, how much it's used and what's the compensation there. And also because streaming is the new way, they are kind of set up on an old model that was not built for streaming, and they want to be compensated based on the streaming model.
Of course.
Which goes into, again, negotiations. When you feel like you're underpaid or overpaid, when you feel like something else is due for your efforts, it goes into how well you negotiate. And of course, collective negotiations is usually quite powerful. But I want to know from you guys, when it comes to negotiations, what are some of the stories you have from your past? I'm talking about successes. I'm talking about failures. What have you learned in your life from negotiations that you had to go through? Of course, again, We can't put out too much information. Don't incriminate yourself or anybody else.
Ah.
But nevertheless, I just want to hear from you guys because you all have experiences with negotiating something one way or the other. And what's some of your successes, what's some of your failures, and then what's some of your recommendations when it comes to successfully negotiating for your value?
You know, I think it always helps in general to walk into the room knowing your worth and having a true sense of the potential that this deal on the table can reach. And I think if you have those two things in mind, you're looking at your partner or this entity, company, whoever that you're dealing with, and you have a realistic, picture in mind of the potential of this deal, and you keep in mind knowing your worth, you've done your research, you put some realistic numbers and things together. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I think just having that set core is helpful. And I say that because I feel like so many talented people, especially, and people that have been in their own industries for quite some time, that are good at what they do, that have been doing it for years and for decades, are still kind of suffer with the self-esteem when it comes to going into that room to negotiate for themselves and still not knowing, that yes, I am talented. Yes, I have 10, 20 years, 5 years even of this under my belt. And, I have really good clientele. I have, a good track record, whatever it is. Even with that, some people just suffer, it seems, like with knowing how to just ask for what they want, ask for the number that they deserve, ask for the things that they deserve when it comes time to negotiate.
What about some of you guys?
I mean, Erica, that was a mic drop right
Right,
there.
right. She bought it, no doubt.
For me, I just learned from others, and then I just took into account. I'll go over deals that I'm about to make, and I'll kind of get a number for a feel, and then take it from there. That's what I've kind of done, just taking advice from other people before going to the table with what I say that like we should start off with.
I would say basically Erica, gave a lot of information and it basically summed it up. But the only thing I would add to that is that you have to not be afraid to walk away. Whenever you walk in a room to negotiate, you have to be prepared that that person may not see it your way.
Right.
And you have to be prepared to say, okay, that doesn't work for me and I'm going to go somewhere else. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to do that, you're already walking into the room definitely at a disadvantage. You definitely, and that's with anything, with a relationship. And I always look at things from the standpoint of a relationship. If this doesn't work for me and I'm not happy and I'm not being motivated to be the best version of myself, then I'm going to walk away.
Yeah.
No matter how much you love something, someone, or doing a particular type of thing, you always have to understand that I could do without it.
So true. Don't be desperate to sign.
Right,
Because of course, everybody's walking in. We all want the deal, right?
Of course.
But yeah, don't be desperate to sign. And a lot of times, if you do walk away, it doesn't mean that the deal is over.
Right. Or sometimes it could be a blessing in disguise. It may be meant for you to be somewhere else. And
Absolutely.
sometimes you can't even see that at that moment.
Right.
But you had to have enough faith in yourself and the process and a higher power, whatever whoever that higher power may be, that something is better for you.
In
Right.
negotiating, everybody should be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Uncle Joe. So that's what we got. So what you got?
Listen, first of all, that was it. All right, no, you guys covered it. I mean, it's no right or wrong answer to me. I mean, you have 1,000 books about negotiating, about the art of war, about these different things going into debates and going into making deals and sales. But ultimately, the points you made up the points you shared, are very relevant when it comes to negotiating. But when I look at it from an economic standpoint, looking at us, we make a lot of bad deals because we make deals out of desperation. We hear a lot about that in the music industry, but I think we don't hear enough about it in the life business, where because we've had to overcome so many things that sometimes we're like, the first shiny thing, we're like going to grab on it because it makes sense to us. It gives us that immediate gratification. It gives us even more self-esteem by being able to say, I overcame this and I'm here. But did we truly get what we were? Did we get how much we're worth? Did we get our value? So it goes into, Erica, what you said, what all of you said, you do have to go into the negotiating or go to the negotiating table knowing who you are, knowing your value. Number one, what's your most valuable commodity? Again, time. Let's always remember time. It's not, look, here's your hourly rate. That's nice. How much is your time worth? Because when you go into that, I can tell you, even working a job, jobs where a lot of jobs you don't realize you can negotiate time. Okay, there is no set time. Look, when we used to have to work in manufacturing plants, yes, you needed to be at work at a certain time and end at a certain time because something had to be produced at a certain time. Even like this show, the show airs at a certain time. Therefore, you have to be here a certain time to get it on air, and it goes off at a certain time. But many of our jobs are not production based. Many of our jobs, we don't have to create something that has an output that's due at 3 o'clock every day. Sometimes it's a little bit different. So a lot of us don't know. We can go into our jobs with our potential human resources people, hiring managers, and we could say, you know what? Everyone here starts at 8. Could I start from home at 6? And then maybe come in, so I'm in person, so I'm still meeting everybody, and then leave a bit early, but I've put in that same amount of time. That's something that we can negotiate. And then you're thinking about, again, what's most important to you, time. You know, you'll get paid a certain amount of money for that, but isn't it great to be able to leverage your time? You know, instead of just looking at the financial aspects. What that time may enable you to do is make more money on a second job. It may give you more family time. These things we have to know. What is our purpose? What is it we value going in, and what do we bring to the table? When it comes to your skill set, we should do our research. We have everything in front of us today to do our research about how much people are getting paid elsewhere to do the same job. Sure. There's no reason we should ever go into a company, even with, you know, some of these, like, I think it's like Glassdoor or whatever. You have so many research companies out there, salary.com, that will show you that people have not put themselves out there by their name, but they've reported what they make in that position. And you can use that as a starting point in your mind and say, okay, you ask questions. You don't make assumptions and say, do you pay, you know, you guys are paying this, but you can ask, well, how much is the person that's doing that making now? Before they offer you anything to let you know if they're undercutting you. Because just because you don't work with a company as long, that doesn't mean you should come in and make less money. It all depends on how well you sell yourself and how much you believe in your skill set, whatever that may be. So knowing yourself is essential. Knowing the market is essential. But here's the other part. And this is like, we have no excuse for this, okay? Today, you should know the other side of the negotiation table. Okay, and I'm talking about, you can literally, if you know the name of the person that's interviewing you, everybody puts their stuff out on social media. They put their stuff out on LinkedIn. You can actually get to know a little bit about the person that's about to interview you before you get an interview.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, like we couldn't do that before, but now people expose themselves, even if it's not truly the person, but how they want to be perceived. People on social media put out how they want to be perceived. So if I learn about how you want to be perceived, I can acquiesce to that during our interview.
Absolutely.
You know, I can play on that because this is a negotiation. This isn't personal.
Right.
But I'm going to go into the game understanding, who am I playing against? This is the person that stands between me getting what I want and not. Let me make sure I don't just walk in saying I want this. Let me see who I'm talking to. Because some people, you know what? It's not about your skill set and your background. It's about the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, some people, it's just about the vibe you bring.
The vibe,
In fact, more often than not, you know, the network, who are they cool with? You might find out that you have a mutual friend. And now you can bring that up in a meeting. Oh, you know my cousin Kenny. You know what I mean? You know this person, you know this. Oh, okay, that brings rapport. We have to take our time and do our research, not just on how much we should be paid, but we should research the other side, because a big key to successful negotiating is knowing, again, who you're negotiating with. Don't go in blind and just assume everyone's going to like this cookie cutter thing, because cookie cutter doesn't stand out, and that don't get you the bag that you want.
Absolutely.
Go into your negotiations like that. And also remember, like I said, desperation isn't necessary. I'm going to tell you right now, as we're going through a change in the economy, a change in how we do things, new jobs are created. And you may find out, if you look hard enough and you really do your research, that you qualify for positions you never even thought of. So that goes back into knowing yourself. You qualify. I guarantee you, everyone in this room qualifies for more positions and more jobs than they're aware of. Because unless someone tells us, sometimes we don't take that in as we are qualified. We usually get that validation from the outside.
Right.
And I'm saying you can start with that validation from the inside just by doing your research.
Absolutely.
And understand you are worth, not saying you're underpaid, that's different. I'm saying there are more opportunities out there for us than we believe.
Absolutely. And more jobs and positions being created every day. I mean, there are positions and it's like, what is that called? And what does that do? Okay, that's new. But, you know.
And look at the description and you find out that you qualify.
You qualify, right.
I'm out of touch. Like I was talking to my friend, she's a marketing exec with a company. I'm gonna just say that. And I was talking to her yesterday because I was like, I'm in my business, in one of my businesses, I'm opening up a new sales channel. Okay, I'm doing something different. I'll share. With my backyard movie theaters business, I'm adding, I'm selling advertising space on my screens.
Okay.
Which is a normal thing.
Yeah.
But I asked her, I said, well, who is the decision maker when it comes to companies that do this? I've been out of corporate America for 6, 7, 8 years.
Right.
So titles change. So I went and did my research to find out, okay, it's the ad salesperson, it's this manager, that manager. But it's going to your resources to find out, okay, who do I even need to talk to?
Absolutely.
Instead of going through, okay, I'm gonna get to the wrong person, and hope to get to the right person.
Right.
Research. So before I even get to the negotiation table, at least I know who to talk to. Then I can research the person, and then I can go into the meeting and make sure I'm gonna be myself.
Right.
But I can still tailor the conversation to the person.
Right. Be prepared.
Absolutely.
Arm yourself with as much information as you can.
Yeah. And this is what I hope. I'm gonna say this from the outside looking in. I don't know if Lamar Jackson did that. Okay, just bringing it back to that situation. But I will say this: if I could advise him, it would be, if you haven't done that research, do that research. Make sure you know exactly who you're negotiating with, because you understand the power of the NFL, the brand, is large. But at the end of the day, if you go into that based off principle and not looking at who you're negotiating with, you're not going to get your result, your desired result. You know, and you don't want to end up falling short, because that's a lot of M's that you could be missing out on.
Okay, Uncle Joe turned it up and dropped the mic on this Good Wealthy Wednesday. He does it each and every Wednesday, 9:20. We appreciate you for stopping through. Now, of course, the views of Uncle Joe don't necessarily represent the views of WEAA and Morgan State University. We appreciate you coming each and every Wednesday, just, sharing some knowledge that we need.
I appreciate y'all.
It's much needed. Make sure you follow him at Joseph Lorick. That's Josephlorick. Each and every Wednesday. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
Thank you.